Flaviélzi, a professor and biomedical professional, had a near-death experience in 2014 when she had to undergo surgery due to a brain malformation. Although she was afraid, she faced the surgery. And during the procedure, she realized she was out of her body, hearing everything happening in the operating room. The surgery, which was supposed to last 5 hours, ended up lasting almost 12 hours. What she didn't expect was that this experience would show her how death is merely the beginning of the journey we live, and that just as good awaits us on the other side, evil also surrounds us. Hello, I'm Marcus, and it's a pleasure to have you here at Beyond the Life We Live. I hope you feel at home and absorb the lesson from the story we're about to share. By the way, leave a like and subscribe to the channel, as it's very important to us and helps bring more impactful stories to you. During Flaviélzi's surgery, there was an incident that caused concern among the medical team. At that exact moment, she was involuntarily ejected from her body. Finding herself outside the hospital in complete darkness, she felt her head strangely heat up and cool down rapidly. Watching people pass by, some of whom seemed to be physically there while others did not, she realized she was in some kind of projection, or possibly even dead. Then, someone who noticed her approached. She quickly realized she was in danger, but managed to push them away with her words. It was then that she heard a voice instructing her to stay in front of the hospital and not leave under any circumstances.
Flaviélzi, do not leave the hospital under any circumstances. Stay where you are, no matter what happens.
The origin of this voice confused her. She remembers thinking,
My God, how am I supposed to stay here? Who is speaking?
Returning to the hospital, she noticed that an elderly couple could see her. She then decided to look for her mother to find out if she was really dead or alive. Observing the movement in the hospital as she entered the area where the family members waited for surgery updates, she realized she couldn't physically approach her mother. Even so, she felt an overwhelming sense of safety just seeing her there. However, when her mother was informed that the surgery would take much longer, Flaviélzi panicked as she watched her leave the hospital. Determined to follow her, once again she was confronted by that voice, firmly warning her.
Don't leave the hospital, Flaviélzi! Don't leave!
Disobeying the voice, she left and immediately encountered a frightening scene. Similar to a neighborhood overtaken by drugs, where people were self-medicating and being influenced by strangely dark beings that drained energy. These beings, though initially appearing human, had odd and aggressive characteristics. She tried to avoid them, but one of these beings managed to touch her, causing electric shocks that made her faint. Before passing out, she remembered feeling her energy being drained until she was abruptly thrown back into her body. Upon awakening, Flaviélzi was agitated and confused, unable to distinguish between the medical care and the sensation of being attacked by the beings she saw during her out-of-body experience. This agitation led the doctors to sedate her and place her in a medically induced coma, which led to another near-death experience. In this new experience, she found herself in a place similar to the hospital, but alone. Beside her, she saw a nurse, whose image was initially blurry, but gradually became clear, radiating serenity. Flaviélzi questioned whether she was dead and received cryptic answers about what death truly means. The nurse responded that we all die, which irritated her, as she felt she was being treated superficially. She then asked if she was dying at that moment.
It really depends on you, because your surgery was successful, but you need to calm down and stay in control.
At that moment, she was reprimanded by the nurse for having disobeyed and left the safe perimeter of the hospital. Despite her initial resistance, she promised this time to calm down and follow the instructions. During her recovery in this state, she experienced several conversations with the nurse about the nature of death and how the transition occurs. As a result, she realized that in this state, it's possible to see and hear everything simply by focusing on where you want. During this time, Flaviélzi also observed people in different stages of transition between life and death, as well as a light that appeared, signaling these moments. With this, she finally understood that we are all eternal. And now, the only remaining question is what exactly we find on the other side.